Hey guys, welcome back to the Prem and Proper YouTube channel. So I woke up the other day craving some waakye. Waakye is a local street food from Ghana, and it is basically rice and peas cooked together. And I would normally be looking forward to having some street food in Ghana if I was planning to go home for the holidays, but this year I am not. And so I decided to make my own waakye at home. Waakye has a particular stew, so it's a tomato-based stew that goes with it. And you have to make sure that this stew is tasty and just right for your waakye. And so I'm going to share a recipe of how I made my waakye stew. So for my waakye stew, I used some goat meat, I used some cow feet, I also used some tripe, and I had a side of fried fish. And I will put all the ingredients that I used for my stew in the description below. Anytime I'm using fresh goat meat, I always cook it first with some water, some chopped onions, and some salt for about 10 minutes to get the blood out first before I add any blended ingredients. And for the blended ingredients, you will need about half a large onion, about 3 cloves of garlic, about 2 thumbs of ginger, a scotch bonnet pepper, about a tablespoon of rosemary, about a pinch of anise seeds, and you will need your shrimp flavored Maggi cube or any other seasoning that you prefer. I used cumin for the first time and I really liked how it turned out. So I added about a pinch of cumin to cook my goat meat also. Blend everything together nicely with just about a quarter cup of water. And this is what my goat meat looks like after I've cooked it for about 10 minutes and before I add my blended ingredients. So as you can see, there isn't that much blood in the meat anymore. So I can go ahead and put in all the ingredients that I've just blended. At the same time that I'm cooking my goat meat, I'm also cooking my cow feet and my tripe. These two take the longest to cook, and so it's fine for me to cook them together, but I'm only cooking them with a little bit of salt and water, and you want to cook the tripe and cow feet for close to an hour, depending on the tenderness that you want it. But I want mine to be very soft because of my kids, and so I'm gonna cook my cow feet and my tripe for about an hour. Next, I'm going to blend some more ingredients for my stew. I'm blending 3 large onions, 4 cloves of garlic, about 3 thumbs of ginger, 2 scotch bonnet peppers, a pinch of anise seeds, and a pinch of cumin. And I'm also adding 1 shrimp Maggi seasoning. You can use any other seasoning that you have. I also blended everything together with about half a cup of water. My goat meat has now cooked to the tenderness that I prefer, so I'm going to go ahead and fry it. And to do that, I am adding 2 bay leaves to my oil for frying. I've also recently learned a trick from Sweet Ajele that you add some sliced onions into your oil for frying your goat meat for your stew. So I'm going to try that. It sounds and looks like it's delicious, so I think it's going to come out just great. So I'm going to fry the onions and the bay leaves for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go ahead and fry my goat meat. I've already removed my goat meat from the stock and I let it sit for about 5 minutes to drain out any fluids before I put the meat in the oil. And so now I'm going to go ahead and fry my goat meat to the color that I want, making sure that I don't burn my goat meat. I just want it to be nice and crispy without getting burned. You get what I mean. My goat meat is done frying, so I'm going to take it out And I'm also separately going to take out the fried onions, which I am going to blend together with my fresh tomatoes for my stew. I also added some of the stock from my goat meat to my tomatoes and the fried onions to blend everything together. And you can imagine the kind of juiciness and deliciousness that's going to be in the stew. So after I've taken everything out, I'm going to use the same oil for my stew. But I actually thought that the oil that I used for frying my goat meat was too much for my stew. And so I poured some of it out so not to have too much oil in my stew. But you actually need a lot of oil to make this type of stew. So keep that in mind. You need about 2 cups of oil for the stew. So even though I began by pouring some of the oil out, I actually ended up using most of the oil for my stew. And I prefer to kind of add the oil as I go on rather than just have too much oil in my stew to start with. After I removed the previously fried onions from the oil, I added some more sliced onions into my oil. This is really optional since you've already fried onions in the oil, but I really like onions. Like I really like to have sliced onions in my stew, and so I added about half a large white onion in there before I added the blended onions, ginger, and other stuff into the oil. So I'm going to let this fry for at least 20 minutes, and I'll keep adding some oil in there as needed to help with the frying. And I want this to fry until it darkens up a bit to help me to get the dark look that I want to have in the stew. If you're familiar with Waakye stew, it's really dark, and this is because you really fry it and you get that dark look. Next, I'm going to add all my tomatoes. I'm using 2 12-ounce cans of tomato paste. I'm also using an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. Then I'm going to add my blended tomatoes. So remember, I blended some fresh tomatoes with the fried onions and some of my goat meat stock. So they're all going into my stew now, and I'm also going to add the rest of my stock into my stew. So I'm going to stir everything together and let it cook for about 15 minutes. I will taste to see if I need any salt, which I haven't already added, and then I'm going to add in some salt. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add my meat. So I'm going to go ahead and add my goat meat, my cow feet, and also my tripe. As that is cooking, and since I want this to really fry and get a little bit brown, I'm gonna cook it for a while. While that's cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and fry my fish, which is one of my sides. To season my fish, I only use some salt, some red powdered pepper, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, and a little bit of ginger powder. And I let that sit for, I think, about 2 hours. So I seasoned that earlier on. If you want it to taste really good, you want to season it for at least 2 hours before you fry it. And I coated my fish with some flour before frying it so that it doesn't tear up. And I'm using my always pan to fry my fish. This is one of my favorite pans to use now. It is so versatile. You can use it to fry, saute, to steam. You can just use it for anything you can think of. And I think that's why it's called the always pan, because you can always use it. It's so worth the investment. So if you're thinking to add a pan to your kitchen, something that looks beautiful and actually has good quality, I would really recommend it. I will put a link to it in the description. All right, so at this point, our stew is all done. I don't really see too much fluid in the stew or in the sauce. But if you want your stew to be a little bit more brown, then just leave it on your stove to fry some more. But if you don't, it's really cooked at this point, and so you don't have to keep it on any longer if you don't want to. We are ready to have this waakye that we have been craving for a few days now. I will be sharing in the next video how I made my waakye. So it's a little twist and a few yummy ingredients in the waakye. So make sure you check out that video. And we absolutely had to have some spaghetti, some boiled eggs, and some curry on the side. So anything that I haven't shared in this video, I will share in the next video so that you know that your waakye is going to be complete. So this is the street food from Ghana, waakye, with a prim and proper twist, with a little bit of class and with a little bit of finesse. So I hope you will try this recipe. Let me know in the comments how you like this recipe. Give me a big thumbs up if it turns out great. And don't forget to subscribe and become part of the Prem and Proper family. I hope to see you back on our channel soon. If not tomorrow, if you haven't seen any of our previous videos, if you're looking for ideas for recipes, be sure to check out our recipes. Thank you and see you next time. Bye.